The vast expanse of the Milky Way trembled with an unseen menace. For centuries, the galaxy had known peace, a delicate balance maintained by the Galactic Council. But now, as the year 3576 dawned, that peace shattered like glass under the heel of an unstoppable force. They came from the void between galaxies, the Void Eaters. Massive ships, dark as the space they traversed, appeared at the edges of countless solar systems. Their hunger knew no bounds, consuming planets whole and leaving nothing but debris in their wake. On Exarthal, the capital world of the mighty Zarquin Empire, Emperor Zoxlar watched in horror as reports flooded in from across his domain. His most powerful warships, pride of the galaxy, crumbled like paper before the Void Eater's weapons. "This cannot be," he roared, his tentacles writhing in fury. "We are the Zarquin. We have ruled for 10,000 years." But the screens before him told a different story. World after world fell silent, their beacons winking out one by one. The Zarquin fleet, once numbering in the millions, dwindled to mere thousands in a matter of days. Across the galaxy, other races fared no better. The crystalline Photon, masters of energy manipulation, found their solar-powered weapons useless against the Void Eater's light-absorbing hulls. The silicon-based Lithomor, whose planet-sized battle stations were thought impregnable, watched helplessly as their fortresses were reduced to space dust. In desperation, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from 100 species gathered, their faces grim and voices hushed with fear. "We must unite," cried Elix of the Photon, her luminous form flickering with emotion. "Only together can we hope to stand against this threat." But unity proved elusive. Ancient rivalries and fresh fears bubbled to the surface. Accusations flew as each race sought to protect its own interests first. As the council descended into chaos, a small figure at the back of the chamber watched silently. Ambassador Chen Wei of Earth said nothing, her dark eyes taking in every detail of the unfolding drama. Humans were newcomers to the galactic stage, having achieved faster-than-light travel barely a century ago. They were seen as primitive, even cowardly, by the older races. Their voice carried little weight in cosmic affairs. Yet as Chen Wei observed the panic spreading through the council, a plan began to form in her mind. She slipped away unnoticed, sending an encrypted message back to Earth. "Initiate Protocol Omega. The time has come." On Earth, deep beneath the Himalayas, General Amit Sharma received the message. His weathered face hardened as he turned to his staff. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice steady, "the moment we've prepared for is here. Humanity will no longer hide in the shadows. It's time to show the galaxy what cowards can do." Across the planet and throughout Sol's colonies, hidden facilities hummed to life. Ships that had never seen the light of day emerged from underground hangars. Weapons thought impossible by alien standards were armed and readied. For decades, humanity had played the part of the weak newcomer. They had watched, learned, and prepared in secret. Now, as the galaxy's mightiest civilizations fell one by one, Earth stood ready to unveil its true strength. In orbiting shipyards, massive vessels took shape, their designs unlike anything the Void Eaters had encountered. On Mars, quantum computers processed battle strategies at speeds that would boggle even the most advanced alien minds. And on a small space station circling Jupiter, Dr. Yuki Tanaka put the finishing touches on a device that could change the course of the war. She looked up at her team, a mixture of excitement and fear in her eyes. "It's ready," she said simply. As news of the Void Eaters' unstoppable advance reached Earth, panic gripped much of the population. But in command centers and laboratories around the world, a grim determination took hold. Humanity had always been underestimated. Dismissed as cowards, they had turned that perception into their greatest weapon. Now, as the galaxy burned and hope faded, the species that no one believed in prepared to take center stage. The Void Eaters were coming, and humanity was ready to show the universe that sometimes it's the coward who strikes the killing blow. As the Void Eaters drew closer to Earth's solar system, humanity's preparations kicked into high gear. The Sol Defense Fleet, hidden for decades, emerged from its secret bases across the asteroid belt. Sleek ships, their hulls gleaming with an odd, almost fluid-like metal, took up defensive positions. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship, defiant, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the approaching enemy. Unlike the panicked aliens at the Galactic Council, her face showed only calm determination. "All ships, report in," she ordered. One by one, the captains of Earth's fleet confirmed their readiness. Each ship carried weapons and defenses that would have seemed like magic to the rest of the galaxy. But humanity had learned long ago that any sufficiently advanced technology was indistinguishable from magic. On Mars, the quantum supercomputer nicknamed Deep Thought churned through billions of simulations per second. It analyzed every scrap of data on the Void Eaters' tactics and technology, constantly updating battle plans and feeding them to the fleet. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's revolutionary device, now codenamed Pandora, was loaded onto a small, unassuming ship. Its pilot, Major John Lucky Umik, knew that the fate of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy, might rest on his mission. Back on Earth, cities transformed. Buildings sank into the ground, protected by energy shields reverse-engineered from a dozen alien technologies. In their place, massive defense platforms rose, their weapons aimed at the sky. General Sharma addressed the United Earth Council, his voice broadcasted to every human settlement from Mercury to the moons of Neptune. "For 100 years, we have hidden our true strength," he said, his words steady and firm. "We played the part of the novice, the coward, all while learning from those who looked down on us. Now, as the galaxy faces its darkest hour, we will show them what humanity is truly capable of." A cheer went up from the council chamber, echoed by millions watching the broadcast. The fear was still there, but now it was mixed with a fierce pride and determination. In orbit around Jupiter, the first wave of Void Eaters appeared. Their massive ships, black as the space around them, seemed to devour the light of the distant sun. On board the alien vessels, confidence reigned. They had crushed the mightiest empires in the galaxy. What challenge could this backwater system pose? Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the fleet's comm system. "All ships, execute Operation Trojan Horse." In an instant, the human fleet seemed to vanish. The Void Eater sensors, designed to detect known forms of propulsion and energy signatures, showed nothing but empty space where moments ago hundreds of ships had been. Confused, the Void Eaters pressed forward. As they passed Jupiter, a strange distortion rippled through space. Suddenly, the human fleet reappeared, now behind the enemy armada. "Fire at will," Chen ordered. Beams of coherent light, more focused than any laser the galaxy had seen, lanced out from the human ships. Where they struck, the seemingly invincible hulls of the Void Eaters began to melt and bubble. Missiles streaked across space, their warheads containing miniature black holes that tore chunks out of the enemy fleet. From the Defiant, Admiral Chen watched with grim satisfaction as the first Void Eater ships began to explode. But the aliens were not beaten so easily. They turned, bringing their own terrible weapons to bear. Space itself seemed to warp and twist as exotic energies clashed. On his small ship, Major Mbake accelerated towards the heart of the Void Eater fleet. The Pandora device hummed, its power building. He knew he might not survive this mission, but if it worked, it could turn the tide of the entire war. As battle raged around Jupiter, the rest of the galaxy watched in stunned silence. The cowardly humans, barely out of their own solar system, were going toe-to-toe with the unstoppable Void Eaters. In the Galactic Council chamber, now mostly empty as representatives fled to their homeworlds, Ambassador Chen Wei stood alone. She smiled slightly as she watched the battle unfold on the large screens. "Never underestimate humanity," she whispered. "Our greatest strength has always been our ability to surprise. The battle for Sol, and the fate of the galaxy, had only just begun, and humanity was ready to show the universe what cowards could do when pushed too far. The battle around Jupiter raged on, a spectacular dance of destruction that lit up the gas giant's moons. Human ships darted and weaved with impossible agility, their adaptive AI pilots reacting faster than any organic being could. Admiral Chen gritted her teeth as the Defiant shook from a near miss. "Status report," she barked. Her second-in-command, Commander Raj Patel, quickly responded. "Shields at 60%, Admiral. We've destroyed 23 enemy ships, but they just keep coming." Chen nodded grimly. The element of surprise had given them an edge, but the Void Eaters' numbers were overwhelming. It was time for the next phase of the plan. "All ships, initiate Protocol Hydra," she ordered. Across the fleet, ships began to change. Their fluid metal hulls rippled and split, each vessel dividing into 3 smaller, but equally potent craft. In moments, the human fleet had tripled in size. The Void Eaters faltered, their formations breaking as they tried to adapt to this impossibility. How could ships simply multiply in the middle of battle? But humanity's surprises weren't over yet. Deep in the heart of the Void Eater Armada, Major Mbeek's ship finally reached its destination. His hand steady on the controls, he activated the Pandora device. A sphere of utter darkness expanded from his ship, growing rapidly to engulf a large section of the enemy fleet. Where it touched the Void Eater ships, they simply ceased to exist, erased from reality itself. On the Defiance bridge, a cheer went up as they watched a third of the enemy fleet vanish. But Chen's expression remained serious. "What's Mbeek's status?" she asked. Commander Patel's voice was somber. "No sign of his ship, Admiral. He didn't make it out." A moment of silence fell over the bridge, quickly broken by the continuing chaos of battle. They would mourn later. Now, they had a war to win. As news of the battle spread, the galaxy reacted with shock and hope. On hundreds of worlds, resistance movements sprang to life, inspired by humanity's stand against the unstoppable foe. In the Zarquin Empire, Emperor Zoxlar watched the battle feeds with a mixture of awe and shame. "To think," he muttered, his tentacles curling in agitation, "we called them cowards." He turned to his advisors. "Prepare our remaining ships. We will join the humans in their fight." Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Races that had fled or hidden now found new courage. If the humans could stand against the Void Eaters, perhaps there was hope after all. Back on Earth, Dr. Yuki Tanaka worked feverishly in her lab. The Pandora device had worked better than expected, but at a terrible cost. She had to find a way to use it without sacrificing the pilot. Come on," she muttered, her fingers flying over holographic displays. Equations and simulations swirled around her, a tornado of data and possibility. Suddenly, she froze. "That's it," she exclaimed, her eyes wide with realization. "Get me General Sharma now." In orbit around Mars, a new ship was unveiled. The Phoenix. They called it, a massive vessel that dwarfed even the largest Void Eater ships. It had been built in secret, a project so classified that even most of Earth's leaders didn't know of its existence. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on its bridge, marveling at the advanced systems around her. This ship represented the pinnacle of human innovation, a combination of their own tech and everything they'd learned from the galaxy. "Phoenix Actual to Fleet Command," she said into the comm. "We're ready to launch." General Sharma's voice came back, tinged with both hope and worry. "Godspeed, Captain. The fate of Earth and the galaxy rests with you now." As the Phoenix prepared to join the battle, the tide was already turning. Human ships, now numbering in the thousands thanks to Protocol Hydra, pressed their advantage. The Void Eaters, for the first time since they began their invasion, were on the defensive. Ambassador Chen Wei, still at her post in the mostly abandoned Galactic Council chamber, allowed herself a small smile. Phase 1 of humanity's plan was complete. Now came the hard part. She opened a secure channel to Earth. "This is why. Tell the General it's time for Operation Lazarus." As she spoke, ships from a dozen alien races began to appear near Jupiter, joining the battle alongside the humans. The galaxy was uniting, rallying behind the species they had once dismissed as cowards. The real war was just beginning, and humanity was ready to lead the charge. The Phoenix moved through space with a grace that belied its massive size. Captain Elena Rodriguez watched as the ship approached the heart of the battle, her dark eyes reflecting the flashes of weapons fire. "All hands, prepare for engagement," she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. "Activate the Lazarus protocol." Around the Phoenix, space itself seemed to ripple. A shimmering field expanded outward, enveloping friendly ships as it passed. Where Void Eater weapons struck this field, the energy was absorbed, then redirected to repair damaged human and allied vessels. On the bridge of a Zarquin battlecruiser, Emperor Zoxlar watched in amazement as his ship's hull knitted itself back together. "By the seven moons," he exclaimed, "what manner of technology is this?" The answer came from an unexpected source. A holographic image of Dr. Yuki Tanaka appeared on the bridges of all Allied ships. "This is the Lazarus Protocol," she explained, her voice calm but tinged with pride. "It uses principles of quantum entanglement to redistribute energy and matter across our fleet. In simple terms, as long as one of us survives, we all survive." Across the battlefield, a renewed sense of hope spread through the Allied forces. Ships that had been on the verge of destruction found themselves restored, their crews reinvigorated. The Void Eaters, for the first time, showed signs of confusion. Their weapons, which had laid waste to countless civilizations, now seemed ineffective. They began to retreat, pulling back to regroup and reassess. But humanity had no intention of letting them escape. General Sharma's voice crackled over the comms. "All ships, execute Operation Pandora's Box." From the Phoenix and other specially equipped human vessels, swarms of small drone-like devices were launched. These were miniaturized versions of the Pandora device, each programmed to seek out and neutralize Void Eater ships. As the drones spread out, pockets of absolute darkness blossomed across space. Void Eater ships vanished by the dozens, then hundreds, erased from existence without a trace. On Earth, in a heavily shielded bunker, Dr. Tanaka monitored the battle through a complex array of holographic displays. Her team worked feverishly, adjusting the Lazarus field and guiding the Pandora drones. "Energy levels are holding steady," one of her assistants reported. "The Void Eaters are falling back on all fronts." Tanaka allowed herself a small smile. "Good. Now for the real test. Initiate the Prometheus sequence." In space, the Phoenix began to change. Its hull shifted, panels opening to reveal a massive cannon-like structure. Energy began to build, drawing power from the Lazarus field surrounding the Allied fleet. Captain Rodriguez's voice was tense as she reported, "Prometheus charging. All Allied ships, fall back to safe distance." The Void Eaters, sensing a new threat, turned their remaining forces towards the Phoenix. They launched a desperate assault, throwing everything they had at the human flagship. But it was too late. With a blinding flash, the Prometheus cannon fired. A beam of pure white energy lanced out, cutting through space itself. Where it touched Void Eater ships, they didn't just explode. They unraveled, their very atoms torn apart and scattered across dimensions. The beam continued on, reaching the massive mothership at the heart of the Void Eater fleet. For a moment, the gigantic vessel seemed to resist, its dark hull absorbing the energy. Then, with a silent explosion that rippled the fabric of space-time, it disintegrated. A stunned silence fell across the battlefield. Then, gradually, cheers began to erupt from every Allied ship. The Void Eaters, without their leadership and with their forces in disarray, began to flee in all directions. On the Phoenix's bridge, Captain Rodriguez allowed herself to breathe for what felt like the first time in hours. "Phoenix to all ships," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "The enemy is in retreat. I repeat, The enemy is in retreat. As the news spread, celebrations broke out across the galaxy. On countless worlds, beings of all species looked to the skies with newfound hope. In the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Chen Wei stood tall, addressing the few representatives who had remained. "Today," she said, her voice firm, "humanity has proven that courage comes in many forms. We were called cowards because we chose to watch and learn. Now we have turned that knowledge into the salvation of our galaxy." The chamber erupted in applause. As Wei looked out at the sea of alien faces, she knew that the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors, but as protectors. And they were just getting started. In the days following the Great Battle, the galaxy buzzed with activity. The remnants of the Void Eater fleet were being hunted down by joint task forces of human and alien ships. But more than that, a new era of cooperation and mutual respect was dawning. On Earth, parades and celebrations filled the streets of every city. Humans who had lived their entire lives believing they were alone in the universe now watched in awe as alien diplomats arrived to express their gratitude and admiration. In New York, now rebuilt with a mix of human ingenuity and alien technology, General Sharma stood before the United Nations. Representatives from every nation on Earth, as well as delegates from 100 alien races, packed the assembly hall. "Today," Sharma began, his voice echoing through the chamber, "we stand at a crossroads. We have faced the greatest threat our galaxy has ever known, and we have prevailed. But our work is far from over." He paused, looking out over the sea of faces, human and alien alike. "We must now turn our attention to rebuilding, not just our own worlds, but those of our new allies. The technology we developed to fight the Void Eaters can be adapted to heal planets, to restore ecosystems, to end scarcity across the galaxy." A murmur of excitement rippled through the crowd. Meanwhile, aboard the Phoenix, now in orbit around Earth, Captain Rodriguez led a delegation of alien military leaders on a tour of the ship. The Zarquin Emperor Zoxlar marveled at the advanced systems. "To think," he said, his tentacles waving in amazement, "all this time, you were preparing in secret. We mistook your caution for cowardice." Rodriguez smiled. "We learned long ago that true strength isn't about showing off. It's about being ready when it really matters." In her lab on Mars, Dr. Yuki Tanaka worked tirelessly. The Lazarus protocol, initially designed for warfare, was being repurposed. On a large screen, simulations showed devastated planets being restored, their atmospheres cleansed, their surfaces healed. "Dr. Tanaka," a voice called. She turned to see Ambassador Chen Wei entering the lab. "The Galactic Council requests your presence. They want to discuss implementing your technology on a galactic scale." Tanaka nodded, a mix of pride and determination in her eyes. "We'll need to be careful. This kind of power, it could be misused." Wei placed a hand on her shoulder. "That's why they need you. Your wisdom is as valuable as your genius." Across the galaxy, changes were happening at an unprecedented pace. Worlds that had been ravaged by the Void Eaters were being restored. Species that had been on the brink of extinction were given new hope. On a small blue-green planet in a distant arm of the galaxy, a young alien child looked up at the sky. There, shimmering in the atmosphere, was the telltale distortion of a Lazarus field. "Look, parent," the child exclaimed. "The humans have come to help us too." The parent, still scared from battles against the Void Eaters, felt a surge of emotion. "Yes, little one. The ones we called cowards have become the bravest of us all." Back on Earth, in a quiet garden outside the rebuilt White House, President Lydia Chen sat with the Photon leader, Alex. The crystalline alien's form shimmered in the sunlight. "Your people have changed everything," Alex said, her voice a melodious hum. "The old power structures of the galaxy are crumbling. Many fear what this means." President Chen nodded thoughtfully. "Change is always frightening, but we're not interested in domination. We want partnership, a galaxy where all species can thrive together. As they spoke, a group of children, human and alien, played nearby, their laughter filling the air. In orbit, the Phoenix prepared for its next mission. Captain Rodriguez stood on the bridge, looking down at the blue marble of Earth. "Captain," her AI assistant chimed, "new orders from command. We're to lead a relief mission to the Andromeda Galaxy. It seems the Void Eaters had a presence there as well." Rodriguez straightened her uniform. "All right then. Looks like humanity's work is far from over. Set a course, and let's show another galaxy what cowards can do." As the Phoenix's engines flared to life, a new chapter in the story of humanity and the galaxy was about to begin. The species once dismissed as newcomers and cowards have become the guardians of not just one galaxy, but perhaps many more to come. 5 years had passed since the defeat of the Void Eaters. The galaxy had changed in ways few could have imagined. Humanity, once seen as primitive newcomers, now stood at the forefront of a new galactic civilization. The Phoenix, under Captain Rodriguez's command, had just returned from its mission to the Andromeda Galaxy. As it entered Earth's orbit, a swarm of ships from various alien races escorted it, a sign of respect and alliance. On the bridge, Rodriguez looked tired but satisfied. "Mission report to Earth Command," she said. "Andromeda secure. Void Eater remnants eliminated. New alliances formed with 17 sentient species." But as the crew celebrated, an urgent message came through. "Captain," the AI assistant announced, "priority communication from Earth. It's Dr. Tanaka." Yuki Tanaka's hologram appeared, her face grave. "Elena, we have a situation. The Lazarus protocol. It's evolving. And not in a way we anticipated. Across the galaxy, on worlds where the Lazarus protocol had been used to heal and rebuild, strange phenomena were being reported. Plants were growing at impossible speeds. Animals were developing new abilities. And in some cases, entirely new life forms were spontaneously emerging. On Earth, the United Galactic Council, UGC, a new body formed to govern interspecies relations, convened an emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of worlds attended, their faces showing a mix of concern and awe. Dr. Tanaka stood before them, explaining the situation. The Lazarus protocol was designed to manipulate energy and matter on a quantum level, she said, but it seems to have developed a form of intelligence. It's not just repairing anymore, it's creating, evolving. Murmurs ran through the assembly. An avian representative from the Krexexi Confederation spoke up, her feathers ruffling. "Is this not dangerous? Could this lead to another threat like the Void Eaters?" Before Tanaka could respond, Ambassador Chen Wei stepped forward. "What we're seeing isn't a threat," she said calmly. "It's the next step in galactic evolution. And once again, humanity is at the forefront." Meanwhile, on a small colony world at the edge of the Milky Way, a team of human and alien scientists studied a peculiar phenomenon. A forest, once decimated by Void Eater weapons, had regrown. But the trees now pulsed with soft blue light, and strange, crystalline fruits hung from their branches. Dr. Zora Patel, the team's leader, carefully scanned one of the fruits. Her eyes widened as she read the results. This is impossible," she whispered. Her alien colleague, a silicon-based being named Crix, leaned in. "What is it, Zara?" "These fruits," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "They're producing an energy signature similar to our FTL drives. If I'm reading this correctly, eating one of these could potentially allow a being to teleport." As news of these discoveries spread, reactions across the galaxy were mixed. Some saw it as a miraculous new age of advancement. Others feared it might lead to chaos or new forms of conflict. Back on the Phoenix, now docked at Earth's orbital station, Captain Rodriguez met with General Sharma and President Chen. The mood was tense. "We're getting reports from all over the galaxy," Sharma said, his holographic form pacing the room. "New life forms, impossible technologies. entire ecosystems rewriting themselves. Some are calling it the cosmic renaissance. President Chen nodded thoughtfully, and others are calling it the end of life as we know it. The question is, what do we do now? Rodriguez looked out the viewport at the earth below, then at the stars beyond. We do what humanity has always done, she said firmly. We adapt. We explore. We lead the way into this new frontier. As they spoke, on countless worlds across 2 galaxies, new wonders were unfolding. Diseases that had plagued species for millennia were spontaneously curing themselves. Barren planets burst into life, and in the vast expanses between stars, new forms of energy and matter were coalescing, hinting at realities beyond current understanding. Humanity stood at the threshold of a new era. They had faced the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. The species once dismissed as cowards had become the architects of a cosmic revolution. As the Phoenix prepared for its next mission, to explore and understand these new phenomena, Captain Rodriguez addressed her crew, a mix of humans and aliens from across 2 galaxies. We once hid in the shadows, watching and learning, she said, her voice strong and clear. Now we step into the light, not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as guides. The universe is changing, and we will change with it. Together, we'll write the next chapter of galactic history. The ship's engines hummed to life, ready to carry them into the unknown. The greatest adventure in human history, in galactic history, was just beginning. A decade had passed since the emergence of the cosmic renaissance. The galaxy, once teetering on the brink of destruction, now thrived with life and possibility. At the heart of this transformation stood humanity, the species that had gone from newcomers to leaders in the span of a generation. The Phoenix, now joined by a fleet of similar vessels from various species, hovered at the edge of a shimmering anomaly. This wasn't just another space phenomenon. It was a doorway, a passage to something beyond their current understanding of the universe. On the bridge, Captain Elena Rodriguez, her hair now streaked with gray, stood with her diverse crew. Humans worked alongside aliens of all forms, united in their quest for knowledge and exploration. Status report. Rodriguez commanded, her voice carrying the weight of years of experience and discovery. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, now the lead scientist of the United Galactic Council's Research Division, responded via hologram. The anomaly is stable, Captain. Our calculations suggest it's a gateway to, well, to put it simply, another plane of existence. The crew exchanged glances, a mix of excitement and apprehension on their faces. They had seen wonders and terrors beyond imagination. But this was something entirely new. Meanwhile, back on Earth, a grand assembly was taking place. Representatives from every known sentient species in 2 galaxies had gathered. The occasion? The 10th anniversary of the defeat of the Void Eaters and the birth of the cosmic renaissance. Ambassador Chen Wei, now a respected elder stateswoman, addressed the massive crowd. Holographic projectors carried her words to trillions across countless worlds. A decade ago, we stood on the brink of annihilation. She began, her voice strong despite her years. We were called cowards, dismissed as primitive. But in our darkest hour, we revealed our true strength. As she spoke, images flashed behind her. The battle against the Void Eaters, the deployment of the Lazarus protocol, the miraculous transformations that followed. We didn't just save our galaxy, Chen continued. We ushered in a new age of growth, of understanding, of unity. But our journey is far from over. The scene shifted to a live feed from the Phoenix, showing the swirling anomaly. A collective gasp rose from the audience. Even now, we stand at the threshold of a new frontier, not of space, but of reality itself. And once again, humanity will lead the way. Back on the Phoenix, final preparations were underway. The ship had been modified, enhanced with technologies born from the cosmic renaissance. It was now capable of feats that would have seemed like magic just a few years ago. Captain Rodriguez addressed her crew one last time before their great leap. "We don't know what lies beyond that portal," she said, her eyes gleaming with the same determination that had carried her through countless challenges. "But we do know this. Whatever we find, we'll face it together. Not as humans, not as aliens, but as united explorers of the cosmos." As the Phoenix approached the anomaly, sensors across the galaxy focused on this historic moment. In labs, in homes, in ships across 2 galaxies, beings of all kinds watched with bated breath. The ship's enhanced Lazarus field enveloped it in a cocoon of shimmering energy. With a flash of light that seemed to bend the very fabric of space-time, the Phoenix entered the anomaly. For a moment, there was silence. Then suddenly, a burst of data flooded back through the portal. Images and information beyond current scientific understanding poured into computers and minds across the galaxies. New dimensions, new forms of life, new laws of physics. The universe had just become infinitely larger and more complex, and humanity, along with their galactic allies, were the first to witness it. As the assembled beings on Earth and across the galaxies marveled at these revelations, Ambassador Chen Wei smiled. She thought back to the days when humans were seen as cowards, hiding in their little corner of the Milky Way. Now, they stood at the forefront of the greatest adventure in cosmic history. "We were never cowards," she whispered to herself. "We were simply waiting for the right moment to show our true courage." The cosmic renaissance had been just the beginning. Now, as the Phoenix ventured into realms unknown, a new chapter in the story of life itself was being written, and humanity, once dismissed and underestimated, was holding the pen. As news of the Phoenix's successful journey spread, celebrations erupted across 2 galaxies. Species that had once been bitter enemies now stood side by side, united in their awe and excitement for what the future held. The age of isolation was over. The age of division was past. Now, guided by the spirit of human determination and the combined wisdom of countless civilizations, the inhabitants of 2 galaxies, and perhaps soon many more, looked to the future with hope and wonder. The greatest adventure had only just begun.